What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality Podcast. I am your host. I am Caitlin Kenna Smith, and welcome back to a solo episode of the Powerhouse Mentality. It's been a hot minute since I recorded one of these, and I really just took a week off of podcasting for just to give myself a little bit of time to kind of just focus on me, because I found that I was just kind of taking on too much, and I was losing sight of what truly mattered and why I got into this in the first place. And I am so happy to be back. And I do this occasionally, usually like every 6 months, I take 1 week off just to kind of reset things mentally and to re-spark my creativity on like episode ideas and just reintroduce why I'm doing this and why I love this so much. And over the last couple of weeks, I've had a couple of guest podcasts, which I'm going to start doing even more of. I have a couple of different guests lined up for the next few months, so I am excited to get some really good episodes out to you guys, but I wanted to make sure that I had this one because I've had this one planned for a couple weeks, and I know that it's going to add a lot of value to your life, and that's why I need to share it. And that's what the Powerhouse Mentality is all about. But before we get into it, you already know we got to crack something open because that sound is just oh so appealing on the mic. Oof, that was a good one. We got Polar Lime Seltzer because it is 7:30 p.m. on a Monday. I am not going to open up an energy drink right now. That would be absolutely obscene. And for those of you who don't know, Polar Seltzer is a superior seltzer. And I had this conversation, in fact, with my husband a couple weeks ago. Because sometimes I'll get a brand and it's a seltzer, like it specifically states seltzer, like this one, Polar. But then I'll get other brands like Topo Chico and it specifically says sparkling mineral water or sparkling water. And I had to look up the difference, or we used AI, ChatGPT, which is basically Google, just a more efficient way in my eyes of using Google because it summarizes all of the things that you would click on anyway. And apparently there is a huge difference between seltzer and sparkling water. I think that I prefer seltzer. I really do. I just feel like there's a better flavor to it. But I'm pretty sure I'm wrong on that because seltzer is just carbonated water. There's no minerals. There's no natural flavor unless it's added, which I believe this specifies natural flavoring, whatever that is. Seltzer is basically flat water with bubbles added to it, often used as a mixer or base for flavored drinks. Clean, crisp, and neutral. But sparkling water, aka carbonated mineral water, is naturally carbonated or carbonated after being sourced from a spring. It contains minerals like calcium, magnesium, sodium from the spring, and has a more distinct taste due to the minerals. Think more of a natural taste like the fancy ones, like the Pinky Sub ones, like Topo Chico, Perrier, or San Pellegrino, all the fancy ones. So bottom line, seltzer is plain carbonated water, while sparkling water is mineral-rich and may be naturally carbonated. Both are water, and that's what matters. So whichever one you prefer is the one that you drink. And to be honest, I just drink whatever the hell is available to me. But over the weekend, Stone and I went on a little run by the beach, and afterwards Stone wanted a snow cone because he's a child. So we went and got him a snow cone. I paid for it, so I got him a snow cone because I wanted to treat him. And he got a pina colada snow cone, and I got a Topo Chico. And let me tell you, Topo Chico's in the glass bottle, when you crack it open, it is superior to any other sparkling water or seltzer. To the point where Stone took a sip of it, and he hates sparkling water and seltzer. Anytime I buy it, and he wants to try it for some reason, and he always, he has like this look of disgust on his face every time he takes a sip of it. But he enjoyed taking a sip of my Topo Chico. So for those of you who know, you know, Topo Chico is the superior of all of them. But if you're doing seltzer, I guess Polar is a good one because they just have a lot of different variety of flavors. And now that I spent almost 5 minutes talking about sparkling water and seltzer, let's get into the episode of the podcast, because today we're going to talk all about systems that are going to help you do the work when you don't want to, which I know, I get it. You've probably experienced this today, in fact, because I'm pretty sure all of us experience this moment at least once a day where we know we need to do something. We know that this thing that we're putting off is going to take us closer to our goals, is going to take us closer to becoming the person that we want to be, blah, blah, blah. We know, but for some reason, we don't want to do it. You know why we don't want to do it? Because it's hard. It's uncomfortable. Nothing that is comfortable and easy is going to take you to where you want to go. Period. End of story. If you want to achieve something great in life, which I know all of you who are listening to this want to, you wouldn't click on the Powerhouse Mentality podcast if you didn't want to better yourself. That would be silly of you. Maybe you just wanted to listen to me talk about sparkling water, but you didn't know that that was coming. That was just thrown in there. Now, this episode idea was sparked by a session that I had a few weeks ago. And to be quite honest with you, I can't remember specifically what the workout was. All I remember is that I woke up on a Monday morning and I did not want to go and train in the garage. Like, this was the absolute last thing that I wanted to do. I felt like I needed 10 more hours of sleep. I was dreading going out into the garage because it's been getting hotter in Florida and the workout was not fun. It was not pleasant. It rarely is, but it was rather unpleasant that day. There are some workouts that I can almost trick myself into doing because it contains movements that I prefer over others or that are strengths over weaknesses. But this workout in particular, I believe it was a rowing workout with burpees over the rower, which I'm great at burpees, but I suck at rowing. And then dumbbell squats, which squats are just, they suck. And Stone was home. I think he had a 4-day weekend. So he was home when I was going into the garage. Usually he leaves right about the time that I'm getting up. So he was home. And I remember turning to him right before I walked into the garage and saying to him, you know, there are some days where I really question whether or not I want to be a CrossFit athlete. And today is one of those days. And he just laughed at me because he's heard me say that so many times before. And he said, you'll do fine. That's literally he's so fucking supportive. I really do love him. He supports me in everything that I do, no matter how crazy it is. But this thought was also re-sparked Saturday, because today's Monday. Saturday morning, I had a really gross conditioning piece. It was 5 sets, 3 minutes on, 1 minute off of a 12 cal row, 15 burpees over the rower, and then max power cleans in the time remaining. Then immediately into 5 sets, 3 minutes on, 1 minute rest of 6 power cleans, 15 burpees over the bar, and a max calorie row in the time remaining. And the worst part about this was Florida decided to be like, you know, I know it's only May, but let's crank up that heat. So this week we had a little bit of a heat wave is what they call it, but I just call it Florida. And it was in the 90s and it was like 10:30 in the morning. It was absolutely horrendous. I was dying. I changed my shirt twice during the actual training session. I was hurting very badly. And the question that I asked myself in these moments is, how come I can still show up when I know so many people struggle with just showing up? I mean, I coach people. Like, I've coached people for over 12 years. I know that every single person that I coach at one point or another, with the exception of a select few, have those days where they say, you know, I just didn't feel like working out, so I didn't. They really don't have any good fucking excuse for it. And usually all of their excuses are not really valid unless it's like a mother who's like, my kids just fucking, you know, if you're a parent, you understand that. So how come some people can show up, myself included, regardless? Like, I know I'm not a parent. I know that I don't like have that going for me right now, but I run a business. I have multiple people that are clients for me that I coach. I'm trying to juggle being a business owner, doing this podcast, tending to my clients, training to become a CrossFit athlete, which is literally a full-time job. And also I need to be a wife to my husband so that, you know, he knows that I love him and my relationship is very important to me. So there are some days where I am literally on the verge of tears because I'm emotionally exhausted, because I'm physically exhausted, because I just don't want to be uncomfortable in the way that I know that I'm going to be in that workout. But I'm still out there getting in my training because I've made that commitment to myself. And with that being said, I don't want you to think that, like, oh, she's so good. She's not relatable. I don't understand. I'm not perfect. I'm not a robot. I have all of these emotions and I still execute on the things that are most important to me, like my training. However, there are things that I do let my emotions dictate. Again, I'm only human and I'll never pretend to be perfect or high and mighty. That's not who I am. I'm keeping it real always with you guys because that's real life. I'm never going to try to pretend to be somebody that I'm not. I do have a really big skill, and it's something that I take pride in, of being disciplined to something that I want. So in my life, if I fucking want something, if I want to accomplish a specific goal, I will not quit until I get there. I will literally kill myself before I quit. And I take pride in that. I have no idea where that came from because my parents do not have that. I think it's probably from my traumatic childhood. So, yay, trauma. But I do let my emotions dictate some things. For example, a couple of nights ago, I was on the couch and I was so tired and I wanted to just sit on the couch and watch a YouTube video while I mindlessly scroll through Instagram, instead of taking 10 to 15 minutes to read 10 pages of my personal development book that was sitting right next to me. So I did what I emotionally wanted to do, and I did not pick up the book, and I just fucking scrolled on Instagram. And, that's okay, because in the moment, I really didn't care for reading the book. So why does it work in some areas and not others? Because it depends on the level of importance in your life that thing has. So whatever you're trying to do, it has to matter to you. If it doesn't matter, you will not make time for it when you don't feel like doing it. It's the concept of being interested in something versus being committed to something. So I'm interested in reading my personal development book because I know it sparks creativity. I know I'm better when I'm reading, but I'm not committed to it. I want to recommit myself to it. But at the end of the day, like, I listen to so many podcasts, I listen to audiobooks, I take in so much information that I've been more focused on creating content because I take in so much, I might as well create things. And the level of importance to reading that book wasn't high enough for me. However, if it was the same moment and I felt exactly the same, and you told me like, hey, Caitlin, in order to become the competitive CrossFit athlete that you need to go out and do like a 40-minute biker zone 2 piece, or you need to go and do this terrible workout. I know you're tired, but you got to do it. I would do it 100%. I wouldn't even question. I'd be like, okay, cool. Give me 5 minutes to put my shoes on. Like, same thing with hitting my nutritional goals to make sure that I can recover as the athlete and perform as the athlete that I want to be. Like, if you told me like, hey, you have to eat this, I'm going to eat it. Yeah, I'm going to do whatever it takes. So what you have to understand is you have to ask yourself first, like, am I interested in something or am I committed to this? And there's no wrong answer, but only you know the right answer, right? Because it doesn't matter, like, nobody's going to judge you if you're not committed to something. If you're not committed to it, then you're not committed to it. It's your life. You get to decide what you want to do. But don't try to say that you're committed to something when you're actually not, because actions speak louder than your words. And action cures everything. Words do fucking nothing. So let me give you an example. Being interested in something is you will do what it takes when it's convenient. Only when it's convenient. The second that life throws a curveball at you, which will happen more times than not, you're going to take a backseat to that goal. That thing doesn't matter. Now, if you're committed to something, you're not going to tolerate your own excuses. You're going to execute regardless of how you feel, regardless to what's going on in your life. You're showing up and you're getting that shit done because you made that commitment to yourself and you're not breaking it. The 3 core values of the powerhouse mentality: never stop learning, keep the commitments that you make to yourself, and seek intentional discomfort. Those 3 things will change your life, and they all correlate to this, to the systems that help you do the things that you don't want to do. If you just focus on, I'm never going to stop learning, I'm always going to seek discomfort, and I'm never going to break a commitment to myself, you're going to go really far in life, which is why I made those the 3 core values, because those are the 3 principles that changed my life. And when I implement them into my clients' programming, into their mindset coaching, into their nutrition, into their fitness plan, they also change their life. Now, there's a common misconception with all of this, because I get asked all the time, like, how do you stay so motivated? And that's the wrong question to ask. The question to ask would be, what systems do you use to continue to execute? Because I want to talk about motivation for a second. Because again, I do get that question all the time. How do you stay motivated? How can I be more motivated? And new clients constantly tell me that the reason that they can't accomplish their goals is because they are never motivated, or they're not motivated consistently enough. If you apply for my coaching, there's a question that asks, what is your biggest struggle? And a lot of people comment onto that and say, I cannot find the motivation. I'm not motivated. I'm motivated inconsistently or not consistently enough. And there's a misconception that motivation leads to action. You have to be motivated and then you'll act on something, when it's actually backwards. Action leads to motivation. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions change all of the time and they're unreliable. Think about it like this. What are the emotions that we already know? Happiness, anger, sadness, anxiety. Happiness, you're not happy every moment. But you don't quit on your job, you don't quit on your relationship every time you're not happy. Anger, it comes and it goes based on what's happening around you. And sometimes it can light a fire. Oftentimes it just kind of disappears. But it's not dependable. You can't really predict it. Sadness and anxiety, it's part of the human experience, but you wouldn't base your entire life on how sad or anxious you feel in one moment. Same with motivation. It's a feeling, not a foundation. So you have to find ways to act when you don't have the motivation. If you have motivation, awesome. Take it, run with it, execute on it. But motivation is like the friend that we all have had who says, I'll be there at noon, and they reschedule every fucking time. Or they're there at 12:30. We all have that person in our life. That's what motivation is. Very unreliable and constantly pisses you off when they're not there. So let's go over some systems that I use in my life and I use with my clients to help them and to help myself execute when things are hard. Because if you can use these things, even one of them, you will make progress. Now, I will say it because I say it on every episode of the podcast. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. So if you listen to this podcast and that's it, you just listen to it and you say, oh, that was a good podcast, and you don't actually implement any of the things that you learned, well, then it's not going to help you, and I didn't do anything. I just spoke to you for however long I spoke to you for. So let's talk. Number one, and these are in no in particular order. However, this first one really is the foundation. This is the foundation that I use for all of my mindset clients when they first get in. And that is the minimum standard routine, or the MSR, because that just sounds cool. But your MSR is your baseline. It's your foundation. It's your standard for winning your day. So don't think of it as your best, but think of it as your bare minimums. Okay, so one of the things that I teach in the Powerhouse Collective, which is our group coaching community, is all about standards. That's what it's about. It's about setting the standard, which is a wish. And wishes don't do shit. So you can set all of the standards you want. But what you need to do is you need to hold that standard. And that's the action. So a lot of us lose momentum when life gets chaotic. That's the number one reason why people constantly fall off in their goals. You're on a fitness journey and you keep saying you're falling off the wagon, but what is the common trend? First of all, there ain't a wagon. You're not falling off anything. Think of your fitness journey as you're walking down the street, and occasionally you trip and you stumble. But you don't just sit down and stop. You keep walking. So with this, A lot of people, when life gets chaotic, they lose momentum because they allow life to get in the way. And that's because you're human. Now, the MSR, or your minimum standard routine, is a simple baseline to give you structure even when motivation is low and when life gets chaotic, which it's probably chaotic most of the time. It's usually, that is the norm, is that life is chaotic. Let's be real. But I don't want you to overthink these. They have to be simple enough that you can do them on your worst days, but challenging enough so they can provide you a sense of confidence when you complete them on your worst days or on your best days. So the goal is to build momentum towards your goal, and most importantly, it needs to matter to you. These things that you pick can't just be like, oh, well, Caitlin gave me these examples on the podcast, and that's what I did because I couldn't think of anything else. They have to actually matter to you. Like, if you have absolutely no goals to go to the CrossFit Games like I do, then my minimum standard routine might not make sense for you. However, if you're somebody who's wanting to just become more mentally tough and wants to just be a better version of yourself and be somebody who consistently shows up, well, then you have to do things that are actually going to allow that to happen. So let me give you an example of what I do. So my minimum standard routine is doing my PT work, doing a cold plunge, shutting down work at 11 p.m. Those are my 3 daily non-negotiables that if I do those things, I know that I won my day. Now, understand that I didn't put working out on that list. Understand that I didn't put hitting my macros on that list. And the reason why is because those things are second nature to me. I do those things regardless. The only time I won't do those things is if I'm literally sick and dying in bed. And at that point, I'm just fighting for my life. So nothing really matters. So if something's already a habit for you and something is already something that you do second nature, it would literally be complete bullshit for you to put this on that list. It needs to be something that's going to, remember, be simple enough that you can execute on your shit days, but be challenging enough that it's actually going to create momentum and to make sure that it matters to you. So it's very, very easy for me to say, I will not do my PT work today because my back doesn't hurt and I don't have time for it. But what I know from my past is that if I continue to ignore my PT work, then my back will hurt. Same thing with the cold plunge. It's very easy for me to say, I really don't want to jump in cold water right now. It's very easy to say that. But I also know how much better I feel when I do it, not just physically, but mentally. And it takes 3 fucking minutes. But again, it's very easy to not do. And then shutting down work at 11 p.m., it helps me sleep better. It helps me actually rest my mind so I can be my best for not just myself and my husband, but for my clients. And if I'm not shutting down work at 11 p.m., that's going to carry over and become a problem. So that is my minimum standard routine. I suggest you pick 3 to 5 things and not more than 5. I usually say 3 to 4 is the sweet spot. Doing any more than 5, it starts to become like a to-do list that becomes irrelevant and also becomes way too difficult to execute on your shit days. So what I want you to do coming off of this podcast, and you can pause it right now so that you don't get overwhelmed with everything else we're going to talk about. Think about what are 3 things that you can do as your minimum standard routine that can help you move forward. They can be as simple as you want. But remember, they have to create momentum and they have to matter to you. The second system is having predetermined routines. So don't wait to feel ready to do something. One of the biggest performance killers is not laziness, it's hesitation. People burn more mental energy deciding what to do instead of actually just doing it. And that decision fatigue wrecks your momentum. So you do this with your regular routine. You make appointments. You need to make appointments with yourself. I train at this time. I eat lunch at this time. Not when I can fit it in is when I'm going to do it. No, fucking do it. Set a time to do it, because when you set a time, you're setting the standard, and now you just have to execute and hold that standard. Don't just wait for it to happen. It's not going to happen. You're going to get to the end of your day and be like, oops, I didn't work out today. I ran out of time, because you didn't make time for it. Goodness. I hate when people do that. My husband does that all the time. He'll be like, I'm going to work out. And then he goes into his office and works on his drone for 3 hours. And I'm like, babe, it's 11 p.m. I guess I'm not going to work out today. Don't do that. Don't be stoned. He's doing much better, though. He's way more consistent. But because I've pointed this out to him and we're starting to figure it out, we got to set predetermined routines. So him waking up in the morning, getting in his workout before work makes more sense, and he's more consistent that way because he sets the time that, hey, I'm going to wake up at X time in order to get that workout in so I can get to work, instead of just saying, well, I guess I'll just get it done when it happens. That's not going to happen. Let's be honest. But it's also important for you to take this a step further and have a predetermined routine for the days where you actually feel like shit. Not the days where you're just making up excuses, but for the days where you really feel like shit. Now, for me, it's kind of like if you have a job and you kind of feel tired and you know that you want to take a mental health day, but you know you can't because you don't have enough PTO days. That's kind of what it's like for me when I don't want to work out, but I know I need to work. I need to fucking work out. It's a non-negotiable. Like, it is my job right now. But if I'm sick, it's different, right? Now, you create a plan in advance for the days where you feel off, where you feel truly tired, instead of negotiating with yourself, should I train, having those conversations. You already know what to do. And because it's pre-decided, you just execute. So an example for this is if you truly had a terrible night of sleep and you're like, wow, if I work out today, I might hurt myself, or, ooh, I'm probably not going to get anything out of this workout. It's probably going to do more harm than good and stress my system out more. Follow a plan that you've already predetermined. Do a 20, 30-minute bike, do some core stability work, go for a long walk, focus on protein, focus on hydration. The important thing is that you're still showing up. You're just shifting the intensity, not the standard, and that's important to recognize. So this way, it protects your momentum and it protects your consistency. It also takes away from that all or nothing mindset bullshit that a lot of you people have. It shifts it from all or nothing to always something. And it reinforces the identity that you're the kind of person who shows up no matter what. So if you truly are somebody who struggles with showing up, this is huge for you, because if you can continue to create momentum and not lose it, you're going to really put together some good days. Third thing is having a mental anchor. And I love this one. I use it all of the time for myself because, I don't know, I just love this kind of stuff. And let's be real, on the hard days when your body hurts, your schedule's stacked, your brain wants to explode and you literally have no energy, discipline alone isn't always enough. You kind of need something that punches you back into your purpose, something that reminds you like, hey, this matters and this is worth it. So think of it as like a quick personalized reminder of your why, something you can see, something you can hear, something you can feel that cuts through all the bullshit excuses and reminds you who you're fighting to become. Think of it almost like a reset button for your mind. And some examples of this could be sticky notes on your mirror. So a handwritten message like, you're not tired, you're just early in the process, or show up like somebody who deserves it, or you're enough, you deserve this. It hits differently when you write it for the version of yourself that wants to quit, you know? I have this on my whiteboard in my garage. It says, Caitlin, you are okay. I wrote it, I want to say 6 months ago when I was having a panic attack during my workout. I went through a period of time after I came back from my herniated disc where I was having a panic attack almost every training session because I was so afraid that I was going to hurt myself again. So I literally wrote on the board, Caitlin, you are okay. And I still look at it when I'm having moments. Like, no matter what, I look at it and I'm like, Caitlin, you are okay. And it feels good. It helps, like, it literally is like a reset. You can even do like a phone wallpaper because God knows we all look at our phone enough. So you check your phone hundreds of times throughout the day, might as well make it a fuel instead of just a distraction. So putting like a quote or a picture of the goal that you're looking toward. So like, because I want to go to the CrossFit Games, if I put a picture of like the CrossFit Games venue, that might spark something, or a quote, like I said, or a message from yourself to future self, or this is how I do it. I put up a person who is most important to me that I'm doing this for. Like, I'm doing this for me, but I would be lying to myself if I said I didn't work hard for my family, right? So I have a picture of my husband and I at our wedding, and that's my motivation for those shitty moments, you know? Like, if I pick up my phone, if I'm trying to like procrastinate doing something for work or doing something like training, I pick up my phone and I see him and I'm like, he's who you're doing this for. You need to fucking do this, you know? Other things that can help here is a song. I'm very emotionally connected to music. I grew up in a musical household and I always loved music and I always was emotionally connected to it. So if I'm listening to music, that's how my emotions are in that moment. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of early 2000s emo music, so maybe that says something about me. But if I'm sad or if Stone's gone, then I'm listening to a lot of sad music. But there's just some songs that just get me in a good headspace to train. And I know that a lot of you can probably relate to that. So find a song that just makes you feel fucking unshakable. You know, one that makes you walk into the gym like it's game day. Or just a song that just reminds you of what you're doing. I think that those things can be super powerful. And a lot of people might think that they're silly, but I really love them because they've truly helped me. The next thing, number 4, is the 10-minute rule. And I think this one's going to be a game changer for a lot of you. I use this with a lot of my clients, especially when they're first starting out with working out. Just do it for 10 minutes. If you still want to quit, then you can. This rule is one of the simplest and most effective mindset tools. It really is. It's not about finishing the entire workout project or task or whatever this is correlating to. It's about getting through the initial resistance of it. Because let's be real, the hardest part of doing anything is actually starting it. Let's be real. That is like the most real thing ever. That is relatable. It's even like relatable for something as simple as doing laundry. Like, I was sitting on the couch last night and I had to move the wash to the dryer. And why is that one of the most difficult tasks ever? Like, I can do all these hard CrossFit workouts, but gosh darn it, moving the wash to the dryer is impossible. But I knew that, like, hey, I just got to get up. And as soon as I got up, I can walk there and now we got this. So the initial resistance is really the hardest part. So this works because your brain builds the task up to be bigger than it actually is. So once you start, momentum kind of kicks in and you shift from thinking about doing it to actually doing it. And 9 times out of 10, you're not going to quit after 10 minutes. Sometimes I even say, like, hey, just tell yourself, like, hey, I'm going to go into the gym. I'm going to do 3 sets of squats, 1 set of squats. I'm just going to stretch. And then by the time you're there, you're like, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to do my workout. And you usually have really good workouts when you do that. Now, there is actual psychology behind this. Like, we resist things that feel overwhelming. But when we shrink that task down to a 10-minute commitment, it feels manageable. You're not committing to an hour-long lift. You're just committing to starting. And that seems way easier. So then you do it. So you can use this in your training. You know, just start with the warm-up, just 10 minutes, see how you feel. You can do this with walking, just putting your shoes on and going outside just for 10 minutes. That could turn into a 30-minute walk. Even do this for work tasks, like open up the laptop, start the first bullet, just 10 minutes. That's it. Same thing with cleaning. Set a timer. Pick one thing at a time, just 10 minutes. If 10 minutes go by and you genuinely still want to stop, cool. You still did 10 minutes. It's better than 0. But most of the time you'll find your groove, your body kind of wakes up, you start feeling good, your mindset shifts, and you keep going. So think of it as, I don't need to finish this, I just need to start it, okay? And the final system, and one of the most powerful ones, is accountability triggers. Your shortcut to consistency is how I want to put it. So most people know what they should do. You know what you're supposed to do. The problem isn't the knowledge. We can literally Google anything. You could fucking pull up ChatGPT and you can have whatever you want in 0.5 seconds of typing it. So the problem isn't knowledge, it's follow through, it's execution, it's action. And when motivation's low and emotions are high or life feels extra heavy, accountability becomes your biggest weapon. That is why I have a career as a coach. I wouldn't have a job, I wouldn't have this career, I wouldn't have my business if it wasn't for the fact that people need accountability, and it helps people. It helps people. I could give you a workout plan, but that's irrelevant unless I'm there holding you accountable to it. And that's the most powerful thing about coaching. It's like flipping a switch in your brain saying, well, now I have to do it because somebody's holding me accountable to it. I used to have this conversation with my clients when I used to train in the gyms. They would say, I wasn't going to come work out today, but I knew I had a session with you and I didn't want to keep you there waiting. So I was their accountability trigger. So think of it as a system that sets you up on purpose to create almost like an external pressure. So you show up even when your internal drive isn't. Because humans naturally avoid letting others down more than we avoid letting ourselves down. That's a fact. And when somebody else knows your plan, your likelihood of following through skyrockets. So accountability turns, I'll do it later, into they're expecting it, so I need to do it now. That is why I share so many of my ideas and goals on social media, because I want somebody to know. So now I'm like, fuck, I put it on Instagram. I have to do it now. I do that so often, and it helps me follow through with it. So you can do this like that, doing a public commitment. So posting on your Instagram, if you're in the Powerhouse Mentality Facebook community, post it in the Facebook community. If you're in the Powerhouse Collective coaching group, post it on the group and tell us what your training plan is for the week. Like, hold me to it, This turns your intention into public commitments. You can text your coach if you have one. If you don't have one, hi, I'm a coach. I can fucking help you. You can apply for coaching down below. Text your coach, text your training partner, text your spouse. Right after you finish your workout, just saying like, hey, I did this, It creates a microdose of ownership and habit reinforcement. And then I think another thing that is super powerful here is that if you don't have a coach, or if you're not able to invest in one, or you're not in a group coaching community, pick a friend and just like say, hey, I'm just going to message you throughout the day, just telling you like, hey, I did this, or, you just let me know. I think that that's so powerful. So accountability though, it only works if you actually use it. A lot of people don't want to use accountability because they don't want to be a burden onto others. Stop that. You're not a burden. You're you. Be you. So don't wait until you feel behind or overwhelmed. Build the trigger before you need it. Set it up for the good days, or set it up on the good days so that it doesn't catch up to you on the hard days. And this is kind of where I'm going to plug in the Powerhouse Collective coaching community, because I think that it really is a built-in accountability system. This entire platform, I created it with this intention. It was built to give you the tools and the accountability most people are missing. Inside the collective, you're surrounded by people who are chasing their goals at that same level as you. And that energy pulls you forward, and you realize like you're not doing this alone. And inside the collective, it's not just a program. It's not like a workout program. It's not a training app. It's not a nutrition app. That's not what it is. It's a full ecosystem designed to help you stay consistent, stay focused, and follow through. It's for those people who are already doing the work, but know that they can level themselves up because they're standing in their own way and they want to set standards and hold standards. So you'll get access to things like the Powerhouse Foundation's training program, which is a 3-day-a-week, full body, 12-week training program. And I'm going to continue to add to these training programs. So the Powerhouse Foundation's program was like the first one. And I'm thinking of doing like Powerhouse Performance, Powerhouse Strength, Powerhouse at Home, like different training programs that you can have access to. There's also a complete guide library with breakdowns on macros, stress, sleep, protein, just tons of resources that I've created for my clients over the years that I've put into one library. There's also bi-weekly coaching calls, and I think that's one of the most incredible parts because it is that piece of accountability, but it's also a place where you can be a part of a community of like-minded people and where you can ask questions and where you can learn about different topics. And I'm going to start having monthly webinars with guests so that you can learn from other experts in the industry. And then there's mobility testing to help you stay out of pain and to fix movement restrictions. The Powerhouse Journal, which is a deep dive into new studies, into new fitness trends. And one of my favorite parts is the no BS review of supplements, energy drinks, and different tools to cut through the bullshit that is on the internet. Because think of me as your bullshit navigator. That's kind of what this is all about. And this tight-knit community where you're not just a username, you're part of a community that shows up and holds the line with you. So if you are tired of starting over, if you're tired of falling off the wagon that doesn't actually exist, or you're trying to figure it out alone, this is your answer. It's much more affordable than one-on-one coaching. My one-on-one coaching, just to be completely honest and transparent, it ranges anywhere from $250 a month all the way up to $450 a month, depending on what you're in for. And this is only $30 a month. It's literally $1 a day. There's no contract. You subscribe, and then if you need to cancel, you cancel. There's no like hold a gun to your head type thing, but it's something that I've wanted to create for a while now, and I was getting in my own way because I was afraid of what people would think. I was afraid it wasn't going to be perfect, but the reality is, like, building a community and building something is about making mistakes. It's about taking risks, and I want to just help people. So if you really want to be a part of this, the link is down below to join the Powerhouse Collective for $30 a month, where you can just be a part of something different. But that is all of the systems, all 5 different things that you can utilize in your life. Use 1, use 2, use 3. Hell, use all 5. Use whatever you think is going to be most valuable to you, but more importantly, matters to you. So go out today and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.